Madison or Metro Kia of Madison.com.
The 11 o'clock hour of Wilde and Tausch begins now. And it begins with us continuing to discuss some things that were said by Romeo Doubs, which, Tausch, I have to be honest, in my experience with him, I would have never...
Pretty even-keeled, I heard.
Very even-keeled, yeah. Most even-keeled player I've ever covered. Apparently Packers.com agrees, by the way. They described him similarly. But I would not have placed any sort of wager that we would ever have a show in which two things that Romeo Doubs said were fodder for our conversations.
Maybe he's not as even-keeled as you think.
Maybe. You can read in this morning's Wisconsin State Journal and at Madison.com about the early chemistry that there is between Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs. And later in that story, because I did not want to make it the focus, because that would just be clickbait. And while I would certainly like to get Tausch to actually click to read the stories that I write, I don't want to do it fraudulently. I want you to read about this because it's interesting.
Okay.
But toward the end of the story, I did include a quote in which Romeo Doubs gives us a glimpse into the level of effort that apparently was being put in by the departed Hall of Fame quarterback into connecting with these young fellows last season. And here is Romeo Doubs at his locker saying, let's see if you could catch the ear-perking, eye-popping remark that he makes right here.
How different is the offense as opposed to last year with Rodgers, now with Love?
I mean, it's a little different. I'm glad I had Aaron here for the first year because he's pretty much taught me a lot, barely speaking to me. And I don't mean that anyway. I don't mean that no other way. But, he's definitely taught me a lot, and I make sure I shout him out every time. He's being asked, for the players and whatnot. But everything is pretty good. I'm glad. I know this is Jordan's first year. I'm glad I have Jordan. I've played against Jordan. I've gotten reps with him, so I feel like things will be pretty good moving forward.
Tausch?
Yeah.
For those of you that weren't listening closely.
What part could it have been?
I'm glad I had Aaron here for the first year because he pretty much taught me a lot, barely speaking to me.
Yeah.
Baking powder?
How did that not get more run? Because he did this, Thursday? What day did he say this?
Yeah, it was Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah.
And while the Aaron Rodgers comp to Jordan not being a big deal is newsworthy, that is absurd.
I'll be honest. I want to defend myself briefly, and maybe I was influenced by the balloting on the program. But I felt like if I wrote something that had a headline about Aaron Rodgers was barely speaking to me last season, that I would have been accused of focusing not forward, but backward. So maybe I should have made it into more of a headline than I did.
Well, if you don't want people to be interested in what you're writing about, then don't do that. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to do your job, but that fits the narrative of what everybody was complaining about. And listen, I understand Packer fans. We want to move forward. It's Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
Totally get it. But you learn nuggets about what has happened and why things played out in what I call the lost season, which it 1,000% was. You can argue with me. You're not going to be right. But that last season didn't need to be the way it did, the way it played. And things like that your quarterback and really probably when healthy, your number 2 wideout. And the fact that number 2 wideout obviously did not have a great relationship with Aaron Rodgers. There was always going to be disconnect because of the age and everything else. But you work through that, and you go through and you get caught up, and you start doing things that will work, and you have success. But there was a ton of inconsistency last year. There was a couple of games that he was fantastic with Aaron. Tampa, he had a good start against. And then there were games that was just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that happens. It wasn't like Green Bay was littered with a ton of productive receivers last year. Romeo Doubs, pre-injury, should have been, if he wasn't year 1, he should have been 1B or 1C. And when you hear those things, all that does is feed. If Mike Florio gets his hand on that quote, the guys that hate Aaron Rodgers, that is gasoline on top of one of those bricks that you use to start a fire.
Duraflame.
That match will blow the roof off of that narrative and just continue to feed it, because that's exactly what people were saying. That's why he needed to be at minicamp. That's why he needed to be there. And the fact that this is the first I've heard of it, I'm not sure what the hell you guys are doing up there on the beat.
You were forced to take Friday off.
That's true, but I was there Thursday. We could have had this discussion on Thursday of last week. Is it not an eye-opening quote, Jason?
No doubt. And again, if I hope you understand my perspective on this.
No,
because
I don't actually.
Okay, well, I really wanted to focus on.
You can do both. Oh boy, as you've said.
I did. They're both in the story. No, the quote's in the story.
The interesting part you left to the what do you usually do? Notes. You put all this other junk up at top, the headline, and then notes.
It's not in the notes. It's in there.
I think it was in the.
It's a little farther down.
Bibliography.
Everything I learned in journalism classes was put the most interesting thing last.
No, the inverted pyramid. Yeah, the AP. Yeah. Look, I get it. I wanted the focus to be about the connection that they're building, because I get the sense the Packers fans.
This is
want
Rudy Ford.
This.
This is Rudy Ford all over.
It really is.
No, this is the Rudy Ford. You just wrote the
starting
Rudy Ford
safety.
article.
Rudy Ford.
He did the Rudy Ford
for now. Yeah, for now he's the starting safety. You Rudy Forded it. Nicely done, Jason.
Everyone's talking to Rodgers for the first time in forever, or Rudy Ford. Yeah.
Jesse, how much does this bother you? Because I sent it to you, and you read it, and then you got the audio ready for us, and you listened to it. The fact that Romeo Doubs, who, oh, by the way, remember when we talked about how Aaron Rodgers said, hey, nobody said they had a problem with anything I said. I'm right here. If they want to come talk to me, they should. Nobody's done it. Sounds like maybe you could have gone to Romeo's locker once or twice. How do you view this, having read it and now heard it?
It actually sounds worse than I thought it was going to.
He backtracked.
Like
he knew.
He knew the second he said it. That
I'm not saying that any kind of way.
Any kind of way except for A-Rod's a total jerk. He treated me like crap.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt in the written version of it, where it was like, oh, well, I don't take that the wrong way. I don't mean it like that. And then when you hear it, it's like he very much meant that, and then was like, oh, I got to backtrack that.
Yeah, that is not going to play well in my even-keeled attitude that I got.
Do you believe him?
That what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why would I not believe him? He said it out of his own mouth.
He doesn't have any reason to say otherwise.
What is he lying about now? The guy's gone.
He
doesn't. Do you think Romeo Doubs will talk to Aaron Rodgers again?
No. Never.
I don't either.
I believe him. I don't believe that was in any way, shape, or form a slip of the tongue, or he didn't mean to say that. But when you say that you learned a lot from him, with him barely talking to me.
Just think how much he could have learned had he talked to him.
Yeah, and that's, again.
Exhibit 15 of the lost season of 2022. That would be on my top 10 list.
Here's what I want to ask you, though, because this is how I feel. That's really, really, really disappointing for me to hear.
Yes.
Like, what happened? If that is true, and I have no reason to think it's not, what the hell happened to our guy? Because
that's not his deal.
You and I, look, there are many things that frustrated me. Among them, frankly, that he would repeatedly agree to come on the show because he knows that visit every year is important to our show, and he would change plans, whatever else. And then I was pissed at him for some other things. But when I hear this, and look, I'll say this, I have a long-standing relationship with Aaron Rodgers. I really liked him for a really long time. We still communicate. But Paul always says he's never going to be the guy you want him to be. That is about as big of an indictment of how he handled last season as I can think of, when a rookie wide receiver who needs every ounce of help and advice and mentoring from you makes a comment in which he says that you barely talk to him.
Yeah, it's a bad look. And I wonder if Aaron feels like that's how, because again, there's always two sides to every story.
Correct. That's why I'm saying it. Yeah.
So I just wonder, it would be real interesting for you to send that quote over to him and see if he has any
I can do that.
recollection or thoughts on whether that's accurate, because I'm sure he won't. But it is, Romeo Doubs has no reason to speak anything but the truth of how he perceived or how his season went last year. And it was pretty obvious there was miscommunications and there was disconnect with Romeo Doubs and Aaron Rodgers. And Romeo still was able to do some good things. That again shows you, and you should be excited as a Packer fan about his talent. But yeah, that is a glaring indictment of Aaron Rodgers. There's no other way to put it. It's your job as the veteran in the room to help your young players grow. That doesn't mean you babysit them. That doesn't mean if he does something stupid off the field, it's on you. Or if he doesn't know his route on the field, it's his job as a professional. But you know what? You can make a big impact on helping him and coaching him through it and getting him on the same page. And when he said that thing about come over and talk to me in the locker, I said that is the dumbest thing he's ever said. And obviously the players didn't feel comfortable enough to go up and have that conversation with him, because Romeo Doubs should have just said, listen, Aaron, you're not communicating with me. I need to get a better understanding of what the heck you want from me. He never felt comfortable enough to do that. That's the curse of having someone as famous and as great as Aaron Rodgers, because I can assure you right now, there's not one wide receiver. I don't care if it's Wicks, Reed, any of the young players. There's not one guy that won't go up and say, hey, Jordan, what were you thinking on this? Because Jordan is demystified. He's not a star yet. Aaron was, and Aaron understands that. He knows. He's been around long enough and seen how different guys react. This was a big miss by Aaron, and I don't think it's great that it's out in the – I mean, at this point, who gives a rip? Because Aaron's gone.
Right.
But it's a bad look for Aaron Rodgers. Even the most staunch defenders. And I'm guessing if this gets aggregated and you put this up on you know what? The Florios and the people that hate Aaron Rodgers will have a field day with this quote.
Yes, they will. I'm not gonna screenshot it and post it on Twitter to make that happen. I am gonna screenshot it and I'll send it to him right now during the break.
All right.
And we'll get to some of your text messages in response to this quote next. It's Wilde and Tausch.
This is Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Call Gina Della from Pella today, 855-PELLA-WI, and online at PellaWI.com/radio.